Over this weekend, a major scandal erupted as many prominent personalities on the right started promoting individuals who receive welfare benefits buying soda pop. You know, over in Chicago, we call it pop. That's right. And if you go outside of that region and ask someone for a pop, they will think you're insane. I learned this the hard way. Well, I'm from Chicago. To be fair, nobody says Chicago. That's fake. That's from movies. But the story is this. Big company called Influenceable is reportedly paying influencers upwards of $1,000 plus to advocate for welfare recipients' ability to buy soda. The story dates back to earlier this year with the likes of R.F. Kennedy Jr. and many conservatives. They said, we're going to put forward a bill where if you are receiving welfare benefits, you can't buy soda. Sugary garbage drinks with corn syrup, nasty preservatives is bad for you. You shouldn't be allowed to buy it. All of a sudden, we started seeing a bunch of posts from individuals saying, this is government overreach. Now, I am deeply offended by all of this. Deeply offended. Let me show you the examples. And I'm a fan of some of these individuals, too. Clown World tweeted, the government wants to block soda purchases for Americans on SNAP. Remember when New York City tried this and it completely backfired? President Trump proudly had a Diet Coke button in the Oval Office. This is ridiculous government overreach. Let the people decide for themselves. Eric Doherty. Important. We cannot allow Make America Healthy Again messaging to be used to force needy Americans into not buying certain things. Some officials in D.C. are working on trying to prevent Americans on SNAP from using those benefits to purchase any soda. Remember when New York City Democrats tried to prevent people from buying and consuming soda? Trump had a Diet Coke button. Hey, that sounds familiar. Not Jerome Powell tweeted, government overreach strikes again. This time it's soda's turn. They want to restrict soda purchases through SNAP. This time it's unwarranted. Even Trump had a Diet Coke button. What? Yo, you know what? I'm telling you. Then you got Ian Miles Strong. Probably did the best job of breaking this down. Smart guy. Although, to be fair, Ian, I do think it's weird that you are in Malaysia and you act like you're in America, but you're not a stupid guy. Certainly. A new war on soda has begun targeting purchases made through SNAP. I don't believe it's in the government's role to decide what people should or shouldn't eat. The last time the U.S. government dove deep into dietary guidance, the whole world ended up with questionable food pyramid. It also championed COVID vaccines. Promoting better health for the Americans is a reasonable idea, but not when it involves curbing Diet Coke purchases. Restricting soda through SNAP is an unnecessary move by the government to control consumption, overstepping its authority and infringing on individual liberty. I am so deeply offended by this for so many reasons. First of all, the government overreach was when they dipped their hand into my pockets, took my money from me, and gave it to people who wanted to buy sugary garbage food. I, on the other hand, like to purchase, with my hard labor, delicious, pure, not from concentrate, tart cherry juice and Spindrift. Now look at me, my friends. Let me tell you about my healthy drink purchases. Spindrift has this particular one, grapefruit, which is the best flavor, by the way, although they have a ton of amazing flavors. Spindrift is carbonated water, grapefruit juice, orange juice, lemon juice, and hibiscus for color. Where's the red garbage in it? Hibiscus? I love hibiscus. You can eat them. It's got 17 calories per can, and it's sparkling water with a splash of fruit juice. Tart cherry juice is recommended as an anti-inflammatory for pre- and post-workout. That's why I have it. To be fair, this is not from concentrate, organic, cold-pressed, and it's got 34 grams of sugar. Kind of a lot. Kind of a lot. But I don't drink it all in one sitting, and it's a recommended anti-inflammatory antioxidant. So it's about the sugariest drink that I will have. I will be fair and be completely honest with you. I drink soda. I've got these organic colas. The only ingredient is I think the ingredients are carbonated water, natural flavoring, and organic cane sugar. It's like that's all it is. I'm not saying people shouldn't drink soda ever. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a Big Mac or that. I'm saying when the government takes my money and tells me there are needy people who need to eat, and then they tell them to drink Coke, I'm like, bro, no. What they need is a bag of flour, some milk, some eggs, maybe some bread. Or maybe the flour can get them there. You give them the essentials they need I'd rather they get a pack of vitamins. Check this story out. These individuals didn't disclose that, at least according to the report, that they were giving you paid talking points, fake opinions to promote welfare dollars going to poor people to buy garbage that kills them, then into the hands of big drink companies. Nick Sorter says, over the past 48 hours, several large, supposedly MAGA-aligned influencers posted almost identical talking points fed to them, convincing you MAHA was out of line for not wanting soda purchases with food stamps. Some even slimely invoked President Trump, an emotional manipulation tactic, referring to his Diet Coke button. Not a single one disclosed that they were paid for these posts, which led readers to believe a general soda ban was in the works. These influencers were given multiple templates to use by Influenceable, with one of these templates specifically telling them to mention Trump's Diet Coke habit. This was done to evoke an emotional response from loyal Trump supporters, making them feel as if banning soda from Trump would be anti-Trump. Guys, the first thing I want to say is, I know it's offensive. I'm going to say it's offensive to me that you would promote this garbage. Again, I'll stress, my tart cherry juice, 34 grams of sugar, but the ingredients are organic, not from concentrate tart cherry juice. Okay? I don't like when people are drinking tons of sugary things. Water should be your drink. It's already a stretch that I drink Spindrift. You can drink water. Water is all you need. But I am absolutely fine with people drinking 20 gallons of Coca-Cola if they want to, just not off government benefits. But what really gets me is the miserable attempt at passing this off as a genuine opinion. Now, I'll give some credit to Ian Miles Chong because he understands. Here's the objective. It says soda bans and government overregulation. This campaign highlights the dangers of government overregulation with a specific focus on current efforts to restrict soda purchase through food aid programs. The narrative emphasizes how such regulation is an overreach that unfairly targets consumer choice, especially considering the president himself is a Diet Coke enthusiast. Key messaging: government overreach, personal freedoms, economic concerns, Trump's preference for Diet Coke, Trump's voter base, and here's an image of Trump with a Coke, Diet Coke. If you submit the post at the campaign deadline, it will still count as a misdeliverable. Misdeliverables are deducted from your base pay. If you do not submit the deliverable links by deadline, you won't get paid. Do not reach out to the Influenceable team inquiring about campaigns, blah, blah, blah. There's a whole bunch of rules. Where's the money? I think he shows an image of how much money it is. So I think somewhere it said something like $1,000. I thought he had this. Maybe he doesn't. Here you go. Here. Okay. This is the new Influenceable phone number. Please label it as Influenceable in your contacts list. They're launching a new campaign for the movie Sound of Freedom. Oh, okay. So Sound of Freedom had a campaign. And it was $100 and $1 for every 1,000 views. That was the Sound of Freedom campaign. And then you can see Chad Prather. Listen to what the filmmakers had to say. Sound of Freedom filmmakers, no single interest group owns the issue of trafficking. I got no problem with that. And I have no beef with Influenceable. I like the company. What I don't like is when if you pay someone to promote a movie, do it, especially Sound of Freedom. People are required to label things as advertisements. So these people all face fines, I believe, from the FTC for this. But anyway, I want to finish the other point. What really irks me is that these people couldn't even craft the argument on their own. Again, I'll give Ian Miles Chong some credit because he did a fairly decent job. Now, I'll tell you first and foremost. When I was a kid, everybody said, what would you take if you went to school? And I was like, I don't know. I wanted to do acting maybe because it's fun. Or maybe I would do criminal justice. And they're like, so to be a lawyer. Yeah, you want to be a lawyer to pretend. And that was always the joke when I was a kid, although I ultimately ended up doing none of those things. Actually, I did a tiny bit of acting, but I digress. Listen, allow for me to craft for you all the proper argument that would align with this messaging. And that argument would be, I am no fan of sugary drinks, and I have concerns about people being unhealthy, especially using welfare benefits. Right now, they're considering a restriction that if you're receiving SNAP, you can't buy soda. The problem I have with this is how they define what constitutes an unhealthy beverage. This is where things get tricky. Were I, and this is not my argument, to actually put out a message on this, I would say that followed by, I personally like to buy healthy fruit juices that sometimes contain more sugar than soda. Would they ban me from drinking, say, high vitamin C and high antioxidant blueberry juice, which actually is important because it's considered a sugary non-essential? The problem is when you get into restricting people who are trying to buy foods with welfare benefits is it corrupts the system. You can't just ban the purchase of foods. It doesn't work. There's an argument. However, I digress. Although I can certainly make a good argument, I actually think it's bad morally. And let's entertain this. While it is true, you may not be able to purchase a delicious tart cherry juice with your welfare benefits, too effing bad. You are not being given the delicious antioxidant vitamin drink that you need because your beggars can't be choosers. I'll put it that way. I want you to have good drinks, but you shouldn't be drinking high fructose corn syrup garbage. You shouldn't even be drinking orange juice. People come out and they say, but orange juice, but no. Orange juice sugar is off the charts. Even my tart cherry juice sugar is off the charts, okay? This is an absurd amount of sugar. So what I tend to do is I drink small bits of it in the morning. I do about a bottle. I might do 2, but consider that 70 carbs in one day just from drinking the cherry juice. Again, I'll stress why. Because it was recommended by individuals trying to direct me as to proper anti-inflammatories post-workout. This is the way you do it. Be careful of your sugar intake. Okay. You might say, but Tim, what if someone is poor and they also want to have anti-inflammatory? Sorry, dude. Sorry. Not everybody gets to have anything they want all the time. Okay? I do not believe this is how we get this thing done. But anyway, I digress. The point is, I do not like that they were very bad at crafting their argument and they all looked identical and generic. That's cringe. I got no problem with influenceable. In fact, I'd love to use it. The idea of advertising through social media influencers, I think is really great. So I said this, I'm going to pay all these influencers to talk about how handsome I am. I'm like, bro, $100 a post? Do you see this? Look at this. Sound of Freedom, $100 per post. $100. Oh boy. We here at Timcast can afford an ad campaign at that number. Let's go. How cool would it be? Now, look, I'm kidding about them posting that I'm handsome. Kind of. I'll legit do it. I want to see who's going to take the $100 to do it. Because I'll tell you this. What does that say about our influencer sphere if they all started posting Tim Pool is so handsome? Now, influenceable might be like, we're not going to let you do that, Tim. You know, we're not going to work with you on that campaign because it exposes us. I argue this. If it's apolitical and the purpose is I can buy ads through these influencers using this ad sales network, I actually have no problem with it. Promoting Sound of Freedom is awesome. I think people should have disclosed it was a paid ad. That's a legal requirement. And if Chad Prather is actually doing these without labeling it, I think that's messed up. But I do like Sound of Freedom as a message. And it's not so much the morality of the issue. Promoting a movie is whatever. It's a movie. It's a commercial product. Go for it. Promoting a political stance on policy coming out of DC without disclosing it? Yo, that's dirty. And I think it's illegal in a lot of ways. So this is actually pretty crazy. Nick Sorter mentions they do this a lot. They routinely push candidates in movies too. This is a much more innocent example. Want to get paid to shill for people you know nothing about? Influenceable. Here you go. Hey, blank is still under attack by the Republican establishment and the Democrats. Blank is a patriot fighting for his career. $50. One original tweet on the issue. Yo, I am so doing this. Holy crap. Bro, influenceable. Get at me, dude. I got $100,000 with your name on it. I'm going to get all of the personalities across the board to just tweet about how awesome chickens are. I want them to say chickens are based. That's it. And then everyone's going to be like, why did all of these people all at the same time just start talking about how much they like chickens? Because they're willing to take any amount of money, baby. I love it. I've heard some responses to the story. People are saying, be kind. These are people who work a lot, aggregate news, and post these stories, and they need to make a living. Fine, but you have to disclose it. Yo, every time we do an ad read on Timcast, we click the little button that says, this is an ad. We have posts, we've made posts. I always make sure they're overtly sponsorship posts, and everybody knows if we do it, it's a sponsor post. And we put, this post is sponsored by. Our show is sponsored by. I want people to know. Now, I will add this. I have never sold a direct tweet. Let me clarify. I have never had someone come to me and say, will you tweet in exchange for money? I have had companies say, we want to advertise on your show. We want you to tweet out about the show. We've long maintained, I have always said this, I will not sell a tweet. However, if you sponsor Timcast IRL, and we've had big sponsors, they pay a lot of money, and they say, we want you to tweet about the show because we want the show to be big. And I say, that we can do. Instagram is a different story. We have included Instagram paid posts. I think we've done maybe like 5 or 6. I actually went in and deleted the ones that were improperly posted because they weren't labeled as ads. Although I may have missed some. But these are clearly advertisements. They say, here's the company, they're sponsoring us, and here's the thing about it. I will tweet about something that was sponsored, but I will not tweet for money, especially political opinions. So, for instance, you can see when we had sponsors, we've done a few where I've promoted them on Twitter. And I've said, today's show is powered by or sponsored by, it might be powered by this company. Shout out and thanks for supporting the show. And then we tweet to the show. That is an ancillary benefit. And it's not a political opinion. It's our show is sponsored by this group. Here's what they do. Typically, we want all of our sponsors to be products. And my rules are always this. I will not make claims about products from a first-person perspective that I've not used myself. And every company comes to me and say, Tim, will you say our product is the best you've ever had? And I say, no, because I've never had it. Now, if you want me to say, this is what the product does, and this is what it can do for you, no problem. If, however, you give me a product, because they do send us samples, and I try it, and it's legit amazing, I will give you my honest thoughts on it, 100%. So we've got some company now that wants us to advertise like a home gym or whatever, and I'm like, what can I say about it? So they're like, we're going to send you a full home gym. I'm like, yes, beast. And then we'll try it out, and I'll give you my honest thoughts on it. We have rejected a bunch of sponsors. Understand this. Timcast has rejected tons of sponsors because they were like, try this product. And I'm like, okay, that's not that great. And they were like, we want you to say how great it is. I was like, I won't do it. And they're like, well, then we don't want to sponsor your show. And I'm like, okay. Like, dude, if I don't like your product, you are not going to get me for any amount of money to lie. Never going to happen. That's why this is so offensive. I will stress this. Every product we've advertised is because either it's a neutral statement or when I say it's good, I mean it. So I'll give a shout out to a few of the sponsors we've had, right? Tax Network USA sponsors the show now on IRL, and they've sponsored our audio podcast before. I literally have recommended them to friends. And so when they give us a script and they're like, here's what they do, it's still a neutral statement, but I'm like, I've heard of them before. And I've said like, hey, like if you're having issues, call this number. Totally fine with it. We've got Field of Greens from Brickhouse. And I think they said, we want you to read it. And I was like, I will do a neutral read for what the product is. We got the sample. Holy crap, I love this product. It's like pulverized greens. You mix it with water and it tastes amazing. If I like it, I like it. And then shout out to Sleep Sanity because they didn't even sponsor us. But now we're talking to the company because I got an ad for this headband you wear and it's got ear headphones and it's got a visor. Bro, it increased my deep sleep and my REM sleep by like 20%. My sleep score is now through the roof. I track all of these things. I try to be a health nut without being like overbearing. Like I'll have pizza sometimes. I'll drink sodas, but you do your best, right? You want everything in moderation. And the company hit me up saying they were fans and they appreciated it. And long story short is this. There are people who are taking money to espouse political opinions and they're full of it. And that's messed up. In the meantime, R.F. Kennedy Jr. has since come out saying, no soda with Snap. Snap should fund food, not junk. MAHA. Actually, I don't think this is a real account. This is a fake account. Okay, anyway, this is a pro MAHA account. But Thomas Massey said, people should not be allowed to use food stamps to purchase sugary drinks like Coke and Pepsi. Libertarian arguments about choice do not apply here. The money being used for EBT was extracted from the taxpayers who have no choice in whether to give up the money. So my friends, be careful out there. You never know how many people are just in it for the money. And man, I don't know what to say, man. Sometimes I wish I was unscrupulous and would just take the cash, but we don't do that. This is why we only recently started running ads in the first place, why we rarely did any. And it's probably why we're not a billion-dollar company when we should have been, and we could have expanded, because I'm a stupid, moralistic moron who doesn't want to take money and be a megalithic corporation or whatever. No, in all seriousness, I'm proud of the fact that we have scruples, that I am not willing to do these things. That is who I am, and I would rather live in a van down by the river than take cash for bullshit. Forgive my language. And no one is ever going to offer me money to espouse garbage that I don't agree with, nor will they ever get me to promote political ideas that I don't agree with. And even if I do agree with them and say Trump came and said, tweet about how great I am and why you like me, just put it in your own words and I'll give you some money. I'd say no. I'd say no. I'd say I'm not interested in doing that. Now, if a company comes and says, what about my product that does this thing? We'll consider it. I'm on the phone with ad sales all day. Not literally all day, but periodically. And I get these calls where they're like, would you like to promote this company? Tons of people right now are promoting pharmaceutical drugs. No joke. That was the tweet from R.F. Kennedy Jr. I don't think I have it pulled up. That he's going to ban ads for pharmaceuticals. And I'm like, who the fuck are these people who are doing commercials on podcasts for prescription medication? That shit pisses me off. Got me swearing now. I will never support any prescription drug being marketed to people. That is for a doctor to tell you when and why you might need it. Whatever. I'm going to wrap it up there, man. Stay tuned, my friends. We got more segments coming up. Stick around and we'll see y'all shortly. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast.